Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 358. I am Brendan. UFC 296. This is the last one of 2023. We're going to break it down round by round, going over Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington and all of the fights on the main card. If you're looking for a specific fight, timestamps are down below. Before we get into the fight, subscribe to the channel. That way you know the next video is coming out. I'd appreciate it. Let's start talking about some fights. Okay, so before we get into the main fight here, there was a bit of excitement, and it always gives me I want to say trepidation, even though that word's kind of pretentious. There was some trepidation that I had going into the main card, and that was because there were so many finishes early on. It's statistically speaking, I know that, it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, well, there was lots of finishes, therefore there has to be no finishes because that's the law of averages. That's not how that works. Every fight is, individual. It just, there was something about it that just said, hey, this night's probably going to be a long night. That's what it turned into. So let's get into that then. Let's talk about this this main event. Leon Edwards defending his belt for the second time, this time against Colby Covington. Holy shit. This turned into a real stinker. And, this is Colby's fault. A little bit of Edwards' fault for not, pushing the issue. But, Colby was not taking the center. Edwards was backing him up early. No strikes landed for the first 90 seconds. Low kick landing for Edwards. Colby finding the left hand at the end of his range and then countered hard by a right hand. Edwards landing a nice left hand, then a right after the reset. Almost no output from Colby. It was really weird to see in this first round. Nothing in this round for either guy, but Edwards controlled more. You look at the striking numbers here. Like, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear that, oh, Edwards dominated this fight, and oh, Covington this and Covington that. Look at the striking numbers. They are not as one-sided as you'd think. Okay? They are not as one-sided as you think. 13-10 in favor of Edwards in the first round. Like I said, the striking numbers are relatively close. Now, I don't think Covington won any of these rounds. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this was not an all-out blitz from Edwards where he just dominated every round, start to finish, and he just put it on Colby. Like, he landed some good leg kicks here and there, and he had some good rounds, but never once did I feel that Edwards was near a finish in this fight. Neither one of these guys was really pushing for a finish. They were just doing enough to try and win, and Colby didn't. We'll talk about it when we get to that one. I have a different way of looking at this fight that kind of puts things in perspective a little bit better. At least it did for me. Edwards right in his face to start the second round. Colby landing the body kick. Edwards landing the hard right kick to the body as Colby throws the right. Edwards landing the right hook. Both guys land a left, but Edwards just lands harder. That's the story of the night, really. And he keeps landing leg kicks. This fight sucks. Colby just backing up for the entire round. 18-13 for striking numbers in the second round. Again, not a big differential. 5 strikes is what separated Edwards from Covington, 20-18. Colby is slipping all over the mat. Colby not in range for most of his stuff, and Edwards just picking him apart at range. Edwards with the low kick hurts Colby. Finally, on a good shot at 3:30, and then Covington gets on top, but then he doesn't do anything with it. Edwards gets right back up and lands his head kick right behind the head. In transition, that happens. Edwards takes Colby down and then lets him back up. Colby just has nothing for him. Third round here was probably the most definitive round with the most damage coming from Edwards. 12-7 for striking numbers, but he also kind of won the grappling exchange a little bit here. Not really. I guess you can call that even. This is where the fight got interesting. Now, so it's 30-27 for sure. Go watch this fight again. If you guys didn't get this pay-per-view, don't waste your time. This year went out with a whimper. Go watch the prelims though. Prelims were bangers. Go watch those. They move fast, especially if you're watching them on demand style where you can just fast forward through stuff. Whoo, you will fly through those prelims. Just go watch them. Colby shoots on Edwards and defends with a choke. who defends with the choke, and then Edwards landing a nice left hand. Colby lands a right hand in on a takedown. Leon lands a kick to the nuts. Colby landing a left hand a couple times, but they don't do enough. Colby gets it to the ground and then gets to the back. This was Colby's best round, but it still just didn't. It wasn't enough. Here's the thing, though. It looks like it took him about 15 minutes to warm up. This is where I would say the ring rust did affect the fight. This 40-36 on my card, by the way. If you look at this round and you look at how Colby fought, this looked like a first round where he was just feeling it out and finally started to, to get a little bit more aggressive. He outstruck him in this round, 13-11. He outgrappled him in this round with over a minute and 27 seconds of control time. Do I think Covington won this round? Absolutely not. I don't feel like he did more damage. I don't feel like his control time was so much that, it outweighs anything that Edwards did. But if this is how the fight started and this was the first round, I would say this was a normal Covington fight. Now, could he put this kind of pressure on him? Would Edwards be taken down in the first round? I don't know. We didn't see that, but this is what I was expecting, and it looked like it took about 3 rounds for him to wake up. And then the fourth round, Edwards pressing Colby. Colby catches a kick, gets the lift and dump. Edwards uses the underhook to get another takedown and gets to the back, but then Edwards goes for the triangle, loses position. Colby ends up on top, and Edwards spends the rest of the fight on his butt. It's not a good look to end the fight when, your opponent's on top of you laying down punches, but, he wasn't there the whole fight. It was 49-46. Edwards did not put his stamp on this fight. I don't think he came out here and looked so spectacular that he separated himself from the division. I think seeing him against a Shavkat or a Bilal, seeing him against Gilbert Burns, seeing him against these guys is what's going to, hell, you want to throw Hamzat in there, you're more than welcome. But seeing him against those kinds of guys is what's going to, put him over the top and see whether or not he has what it takes to really dominate this division or win in this division going forward. All right. I was debating whether or not I was going to talk about this. But yeah, Colby just didn't look the same. I mean, like I said, I think, without the layoff and, if this fight took place 6 months ago, like 9 months ago, maybe it goes differently. But I mean, this is how this isn't exactly how I saw it going. I thought Covington was going to put a lot of pressure on Edwards. He wasn't going to be able to take him down, and then he was kind of going to get picked apart. But he got picked apart, and then he put the pressure on and then was able to control because Edwards wanted to. And here's the other thing. They're like talking about how Edwards wanted to grapple, and that's what put him in there. And this what leads us into the whole emotional thing and him saying stuff about Edwards' dad. This guy said he was very emotional and he had to collect himself, and Edwards did, right? And I feel for him. I don't feel for all you bandwagoners or people, jumping on the Colby hate train unironically, right? You guys are all kind of stupid. The fact that you guys think like this is anything more. Leon Edwards now is more popular, not because of this. This fight kind of stunk. But you look at the Kamaru Usman fights. The Kamaru Usman's career was pretty much made. His name was made because of the Covington rivalry and it wasn't because Colby Covington is that much of a better fighter than everybody in the division. It's just the amount of attention that he gets and the amount of eyeballs and the amount of people that want to see him lose. So the emotional side of things, and Edwards wanted to go in there and dominate, led him into, in my opinion, wanting to grapple with Colby and show his dominance. And guess what? He did get the takedowns, but then immediately shows his weaknesses in that he can't control those positions for very long against a guy who's tenacious and aggressive from underneath. And, with a lot of wrestling background, Colby was able to reverse those positions and get on top or get out of those positions relatively easily. And do I think that could have happened earlier in the fight? Absolutely, I do. And if that's, you can say like, oh, well, Edwards put himself there. Yes, he did. And I think emotionally it did play a factor. Now, it didn't make him reckless. It didn't make him fight stupid. In fact, I think it might have done the opposite. It might have made him more conservative because he drew back into himself with his emotions and, swallowed everything and didn't let it affect the fight. So he was more measured and wasn't as aggressive. All this being said, real quick, and I'll move on. My normal disclaimer, I am not a fan of Colby Covington's shtick. If it was up to me and the sport was just for me, I wouldn't need any of this talk. I don't need any of it. I don't need people to hate each other. I don't need people to make fun of each other. I don't need any of this stuff. And for you hardcore fans out there, I bet you feel the same. You don't need this. You're going to watch the fights regardless. Okay? So I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of people putting on a persona. I'm not a fan of this wrestling type stuff when it crosses over into real life. I don't like this. It's not my favorite thing. In fact, I would prefer that it wasn't there. That being said, everything Colby has done has all been talk. Everything. Everything that he's done has all been talk. For good and for bad. Obviously, you say you're all talk. And that's what they were doing after the fight. You're all talk, blah, 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 blah. Great. You guys in the MMA community have championed people who have committed actual crimes. Okay? Hell, Jorge Masvidal went and punched Colby Covington outside of the octagon. That's just assault. That's just a crime. You can't do that. I don't care if you're fighters. And you can say, like, oh, well, you need to back it up. He did. For 25 minutes. That was why he was talking shit. He wasn't talking shit to Masvidal because he wanted to make fun of him and then fight him on the street. He wanted to pump up the fight and get himself attention so he could fight for the title next. And that's exactly what happened. Like this whole thing where people can't separate the sport from real life. This is the problem. This is why I don't like this stuff, because everybody latches on to these people like they're real. It's unbelievable that we live in an age where we all know wrestling is fake. Right? We all know the personas that they put on and all the talk and all the stuff scripted. We all know that's fake. But when somebody does it in another sport, we all turn into these like reality TV show watchers and just go like, I can't believe he said that. Oh, what a scumbag. But again, it's all been talk. I don't care what he says. Like, he's not specifically he's not calling for violence, right? He's not. So he's doing things that are making fun of, trying to poke the bear. He's trying to really offend people. Absolutely. He's doing that shit, and I fucking hate it. It's disgusting. I don't like it. But in that same breath that you would condemn Colby Covington's actions, which, again, is simply talk, right? They are not call to action. They are just words used to like offend someone. You will, in that same breath, defend a guy who will hit him out, like, and commit an actual crime. Throw a boomerang at him. And that's just against Colby. There's other people in the UFC who've committed real heinous acts. Right? Domestic abuse, theft, like assault, like real crimes, like real nasty stuff. And these are real criminals, people committing heinous acts against other human beings in a society where we should punish that shit. And you guys gloss over it because he didn't say anything about anybody's mom. Do you understand how ludicrous that is? That if somebody makes fun of your mom, that guy's worse than the dude who hit you with a car? Or hit somebody else with a car? Oh, no, that's the other thing. They hit someone else with a car. They're not hitting fighters with cars. How does that make it okay? How does that make it better? I hate all of it. I hate all of this. But I find myself all the time like trying to put things into perspective. I'm not defending Colby Covington. I think what he's doing is disgusting. The way he talks, like, I wouldn't want to be around that shit. It's gross. I wouldn't want to be a part of that. But people lose perspective. Their memories are so short and their focus is so freaking tunneled. They can't see the world around them or put things in perspective properly. And it's disappointing, to be honest. Because it makes me think that everybody who's watching the sport is maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not in on the joke. Maybe everybody else is also playing it up, and we're all in wrestling, wonderland here, and we're all just making shit up. It could be me. Congratulations to Leon Edwards. Legit win. Good performance from him. for what it was. It wasn't the most interesting thing, but it was very, Adesanya-esque, Anderson Silva-esque, in some of his later performances or, lackluster ones. Just staying safe, keeping it on the outside, not being overly aggressive. Great win for him. And I'm excited to see what he does in the future, and I want to see him against some tougher challenge. All right, Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval, Raw Dog. Interesting nicknames here. The Cannibal versus Raw Dog. I got some comments about this one too. These are 2 title fights. This video is probably going to go a little bit long. I'll try and go through the last couple quick here, but Pantoja runs across the cage, starts throwing right hands and low kicks. Royval landing a right hand countered him, fights for the takedown. Low kicks are flying from both guys. Royval landing the lead right hook. Pantoja is just nonstop, gets the pressure against the cage and gets a double leg. Royval landing up kicks and hammer fists from the body, making the guard suck, but Pantoja just doesn't stop and stays on top of him. Pantoja stays on top, works his way to mount, but goes right back into half guard. Back up with 30 seconds left. Pantoja takes that round super easy. 10-9. If he can maintain this pace, it's going to be a rough night for Royval. 27-13 for striking numbers in favor of Pantoja. All right, Pantoja counters a kick with a right hand. Royval landing a hard knee to the body. Pantoja catches a knee and then gets it to the ground yet again. Pantoja's literally resting on top. This is the problem I have with this, okay? The referee is supposed to stand it up when there is no advancing, right? Like literally, okay. If you take it for the letter of the word, but you can interpret it a bunch of different ways. But from what has been told, what the referees are looking for is when they are resting. When the fighters are resting and not doing anything, they are to be stood back up. His coach was literally telling him, Pantoja, he was literally telling him to rest in this position. He was holding on and taking a nap on top. Now, that does take some skill in order to hold someone down, but it is not something that should be allowed. With the current rule set, if you want to go pure MMA with no rules and blah, 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 yeah, we can have a guy hold another guy down for 25 minutes. That's fine. If that's what it is, but that's not the rule set. Whether you like him or not, that's not what it currently is. So I thought he should have been stood up multiple times. He's waiting until he's warned and then moves a little bit and then holds on again. Pantoja lands a weird right forearm and then staggers Royval, but really I don't think he staggered him. I think Royval was having these weird reactions all night and slipping on the canvas. And then Royval throws a kick and gets taken down again. Look at the amount of control time here. 3 minutes and 44 seconds of control time. Let's see how many ground strikes he landed here in the second round. 3. 3 ground strikes. Oh, maybe he had a lot of submission attempts here in the second round. Oh, what's that? Oh, 0. And this isn't just the numbers thing. Like, obviously, numbers can be deceptive. You can not land a lot of strikes and not have a lot of submission attempts, but be constantly looking to advance position. That is not what we had here, folks. He just didn't. He just sat there, and his coach told him to do it. That was his strategy, was to get some of his energy back. Third round, Royval throws a naked kick and it's taken down again. Pantoja back to sitting there. Pantoja goes for back control, and Royval gets out. Out on top, and they're back up. Pantoja looks super tired. Royval landing some poking shots using the jab. Pantoja starting to panic wrestle, wanting nothing to do with striking. Royval landing a hard body kick and a couple left hands. Pantoja landing some low kicks. Pantoja goes for another takedown just to sit in half guard. This third round, I refuse to score it for Pantoja. I don't care what you tell me. He was outstruck 24-17. He only had 2 minutes of control time. With his control time, let's look at his ground strike, shall we? 0. 0 ground strikes for Pantoja. 0. How many submission attempts did he have in the third round? 0. What offense did he offer from the ground? 0. He had 0 offense from the ground. That is a change in position and control time, which does less than damage. I do not care. You cannot convince me that Pantoja won this round. You can't. You can't. I refuse. I refuse to score it for someone who his coach is literally telling him to take a break and sit on top. And when we get to the end of this, like, I'm not I don't dislike Pantoja. I actually like him quite a bit. Okay. And like what he's fighting for and why he's fighting and why he's making the decisions that he's making make a ton of sense, and they're inspirational, to be honest with you. Okay. I'm talking about the fight as it took place and how it should be scored. Okay. No offense from Pantoja in this round on the ground. None. Royval did more on the ground. He landed 2 strikes. You can say they're meaningless, but Pantoja didn't land any, and he was in the dominant position. So I refuse to give that to him. I have a 29-28. Pantoja wants a takedown again, gets it. This is really boring. Somebody, finally something, he does something. He gets the back and starts to control, puts the body triangle in, but that's the problem. He puts the body triangle in. He does fight for some submission attempts here in round 4. You will see he does have at least one submission attempt. 4 minutes and 20 seconds of control time. There is not a lot to break down here. He threw the body lock, and the thing, it wasn't that he was doing something so crazy. Like, his control is just really good. And from that back body triangle position, it's hard to get out of there. So I had it 39-37. Last round here. Royval is throwing and willing to take the shots that are coming back his way. He's trying to finish the fight, landing some nasty uppercuts. He's doing everything he can to get this done, trying to get the win. Pantoja goes to the takedown and gets it again. Nothing says I'm a champion like holding on for dear life for the on top for 3 rounds. I'm not scoring this round for a guy who does no damage yet again. Now, if you look at the striking numbers here, he did keep up with him. It was 55-41 in favor of Royval, but he just did not land with the same thud that Royval was landing with. These numbers look like deceiving. It looks like it was closer than it was. Yes, there was control time, 2 minutes and 43 seconds, but put this in perspective. Pantoja had control for 2 minutes and 43 seconds and landed 7 strikes. 7. He was still outstruck. Those 7 strikes add in here. And when he got outstruck on the feet so much that he wasn't able to catch up with 2 minutes and 43 seconds of control time on the ground. So I had a 48-47. A lot of people had a 49-46. I'm pretty sure that's how the judges all saw it. All 3 judges gave that last round. Boy, Derek Clearly and Chris Lee and Tal D'Amato. Yeah, Chris Lee and Derek Clearly, I wouldn't expect them to give round 3. Sorry. Oh, my bad. Eric Colon gave the last round, and then Junichiro Kamijo and Ron McCarthy, Dingus 1 and 2, didn't give any rounds to Royval. Now, let's talk about real quick what he said after the fight. He says that he needed the belt for his family. He needed this belt for Brazil. Brazil needs idols, and that's why he fought the way he did, right? Because Brandon Royval is dangerous, and he didn't want to put himself in a position to get finished. Can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. I don't want to watch it, but I can't argue with that. You're going to tell me that he's like, I need this belt for my family. I need this belt to be an idol for people in Brazil. I need to be an inspiration for people. Now, yes, you can do that while also putting on entertaining fights. But when you see a challenge across from you and you see the shortest path to victory is just a takedown and then sitting on top because the referee isn't standing you up, why wouldn't I do it? I'm not mad at Pantoja here. Right? I'm not. Even though I said nothing says I'm a champion like holding on for dear life for 3 rounds. It's a mindset that he has. It's completely different than what a lot of other champions have. And he's honest about it, which curbs a lot of the expectations. Right? If he goes out there and says, I'm going to destroy this guy. I'm a monster. I'm going to go out there and submit him. Like last week we had with Song Yadong. He's like, this is going to be the easiest fight of my career. I'm just going to walk through him. And then he holds on for dear life. Right? That's different. This guy tells you afterwards, he's like, this guy across from me is trying to kill me. Like, he's really good. He's tough, and he's trying to take everything that I have. And I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't do that. And if that means I have to hold on to him and just keep him on the ground for 15 minutes of a fight, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's what he did. And I commend him for his honesty. As much as I don't want to watch this shit. Like, I don't want to watch that. I commend him for putting things into perspective. And like he's an inspirational dude. Like to be a guy who doesn't talk a lot of shit, who goes out there and just gets the job done, and then will tell you afterwards why he got the job done the way he did. I can't disagree with it. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, me watching the fight and taking notes versus me after the fight and putting things in perspective. Like me watching it, I was bored. I was kind of pissed. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to watch this. And then immediately afterwards, when he says that, I'm like, makes sense. I get it. Immediately it takes me back down. So, there is a way to be a respectful fighter, someone who can do this kind of stuff and doesn't play the game like everybody else, but still, becomes an inspirational fighter. A version of an entertaining fighter, let's put it that way. You are entertained by them fighting, not by necessarily what they're doing in the fight. And it's not that he didn't have entertaining moments. He had some exciting stuff. All right, let's talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Wonderboy Thompson. Shavkat Rakhmonov, Stephen Thompson. This was... so I've been calling... So I went back just to make sure. Ever since Shavkat came to the UFC, I've been saying that he's going to be a problem. I went back and watched my old video. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I'm pretty sure like I've been calling for him to get a title shot for like a year and a half now. I wanted to see him versus Khamzat. Like he should have had the things that Khamzat had. He's a better fighter than Khamzat Chimaev. He's more well-rounded, much more contemplative with the way he does things. He's also he's all around just a much better fighter. So this fight, it starts out Jack Black and Kyle Gass, so Tenacious D, who sing the song Wonder Boy that Stephen Thompson walks out with. They walk out to the cage with him, and it's so freaking cool, man. This was such a bummer. Also, another thing, like this fight just shows you how good Stephen Thompson's striking is because nobody wants a part of it. Nobody wants a part of his striking, and the people who do usually come out on the back end of the tail end of it. Yes, he's been knocked out and he's been hit before, but most people, they don't want to mess with his striking, even if they're good strikers themselves. Rakhmonov is slowly pushing forward, trying to get Wonderboy against a cage, and then gets into the clinch. Lots of booing. Wonderboy able to get off the fence with 45 seconds left. Wonderboy landing a couple hard kicks to the body. Rakhmonov had control of most of that round. Not a lot of damage coming back at him. Look at the striking numbers here, 12-10. The bigger strikes did come from Thompson, but Rakhmonov in the clinch was doing some damage, so I gave him that round 10-9. Good blitzing from Wonderboy, landing some nice body kicks in the second round, some push kicks to keep distance. Rakhmonov shoots a single and then he defends and gets to the fence, which is crazy. Rakhmonov gets him down finally, holding onto that one leg. Somehow Wonderboy gets out of one of the nastiest rear naked chokes I've ever seen. Rakhmonov doing some good work with the elbows, and then with 5 seconds left, Stephen Thompson taps. It's so crazy. And then I wrote down here. I told you this is why I went and looked back, because I wrote down. I told you years ago that this guy was going to get this is going to be the guy who fights for the title. Also, the guy who translated for Rakhmonov was live translating as he was being interviewed by Joe Rogan. That is how you do it, folks. That is how you do it. I don't want to hear it from anybody else. That is how you translate. You don't sit there and then translate to him afterwards. It makes the interview process take forever. It loses all momentum. So much better. Love that guy. Shout outs to you. Okay. Let's look at welterweight then, shall we? After this weekend, 5 took on 6. Shavkat could... He's definitely going to jump ahead of Colby. I don't know. And probably Burns. So he'll probably jump up to number 3. Stephen Thompson, oh boy, he might jump out of the top 10. I hope he doesn't, but he might. It's okay. He's had a really good career. He's still one of my favorite fighters to watch, favorite fighters to listen to. He's so much fun. I put him against strikers, please. Stop putting against guys. Like, yes, you're in the top 10, so you got to fight these guys coming up. I get that. Let's put him against some strikers and let's have some fun fights. Let's get a Kevin Holland type fight going. Colby's jumping out of here, that's for sure. Who's up next for the title? Is it Bilal Muhammad? Could be. Shavkat made an argument that he belongs in that title picture. The thing is, because because Shavkat fought on the same night as Edwards, it kind of screws up the schedule because now Rakhmonov's probably going to have to fight one more time before he gets the title unless he wants to sit out. I don't know personally about him, if that's his style, if that's what he's looking to do. I hope Bilal Muhammad gets the title shot first. I hope he gets the title shot first. I hope he doesn't get passed over again. But if he did, I would understand it. And I would be mad because I want him to get the title shot and I don't want him to have to wait anymore. Shavkat just got his first win up there. Let's let him sit on ice just for a little bit. Wow, this video's getting long. Let's go to another depressing fight, huh? Tony Ferguson versus Paddy the Batty Pimblett. Woof. David Goggins being in Tony's corner is pretty freaking crazy. I cannot believe that happened. Paddy's pretty stationary with his stance. Hard low kicks from Paddy. Tony lands a hard right hand. Paddy going with the kick-heavy attack, going to the body, going to the legs. Ferguson landing a right hand. That left and the left. Paddy's chin is just always there, always straight up. They exchange with some big shots in the center, and that's when we see that Paddy's power is just more than Ferguson's, and Ferguson's diminished. Paddy lands a hard right hand over and over, punishing the leg with those kicks, and he lands a right hand some more. Ferguson, he throws a flying knee and then lands Paddy throws a flying knee and then a left hook, and then Ferguson goes down. This wasn't a 10-8 round. Like if you're just looking at these bars, it's deceiving. That's 70-29 in favor of Pimblett. It was not a close round. You could give this round a 10-8. I actually am curious. We'll go back, look at it afterwards. I give it a 10-9, but boy, was that a bad round for Ferguson. It'd be interesting to see if his cardio, I wrote down, I was like, better hope he has cardio to go to the second because Ferguson's going to be there. Paddy's leaning back, landing, even though his head is straight up. Ferguson slips, and Paddy takes advantage and follows him to the ground. This was a boring round, bad round. 4 minutes and 20 seconds of control time. Paddy's landing some good ground and pound as he's trying to pass his guard repeatedly, so he was doing damage. But it wasn't the most exciting to watch. It was another dominating round, not a 10-8, but Tony just had no answers for him on the ground. Last round, Paddy landing the short right hand as Tony moves in. Tony landing a nice uppercut. Paddy is exhausted. Holy shit, Paddy just shot a single, worked for it, lifted to get the takedown. Great takedown for him. Not a good look for Paddy, honestly, even if, holding Tony Ferguson down is impressive. It's, 30-27 for sure. He did get outstruck here, 22-17. I even if this was impressive in some way, fighting against a diminished Tony Ferguson doesn't really show me that he's ready for anybody in the legit 155. I don't know. This is depressing. Tony Ferguson has now lost 7 fights in a row. It's it's so hard. I don't want to call for a guy's retirement, so I'm not going to. All right, let's talk about a quick one. Probably the most entertaining fight. This was the most entertaining fight on the main card, unfortunately, because it happened first. So it took these high expectations that we had from the prelims and then carried it over into the main card, and then, of course, the rest of the card was kind of a dud. Don't really need to bring up stats here. Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. Mitchell with a really low stance, trying to move forward. Emmett swinging hard as usual, just out of range as Mitchell moves back. And then a hard right hand, and Mitchell goes stiff, and he's asleep. This one was rough. He hit him hard. I mean, striking numbers here, 2-0 in favor of Emmett, and one of those put him to sleep. Like, this was... holy shit. Like he was convulsing afterwards. He couldn't walk when he stood back up like a minute later, 2 minutes later, he couldn't walk right. Bryce Mitchell got clocked. It was rough to watch. I hope that he's okay. Congratulations to Emmett for pulling out a victory there. All right, that's it for the main card. Thank you guys for sticking this out. I know this video was long, but we had 2 title fights. It was the last card of the year. I will be putting out videos for the rest of the year. I just don't know what yet. Stay tuned. pop back in. I got a couple ideas. One of them I want to do is go over fouls and wins for this entire year, kind of break down what I saw, and we'll talk about it. All right, thank you guys so much. Subscribe to the channel. That way, when the next video is coming out, I'd really appreciate it. I love you guys. Hope you guys have an amazing week. Peace.